Hello everyone, my name is Nujum. I wanted to start with no, not that one. Not that one. That one. But I realized how bad that is. This might be a little bit better. Hi. So it's been a while since I recorded, and I realized there was 2 episodes where I didn't even try to address anything game designy at all. So I figured, well, you know what, there's actually a lot of interesting things Prison Architect does, and I thought the best way to show them to you would be to make another video, but I didn't want to make another video on just the game, because I feel like, there's not really a reason for me to just keep banging my head against the same wall. I messed it up once, I might mess it up again, right? So instead what I thought we'd do is we do a little bit something different. I thought we'd do a little bit of research on Prison Architect. Now, Prison Architect was made by Introversion Software, I think. Hold on. Prison Architect game. I'm pretty sure there's no Prison Architect other than the game, but whatever. It's actually at a 9 out of 10 and a 4 out of 5. Those are very good scores, considering how recently it was released. But there's a lot of information to learn about games just through raw research, right? And so one of the things you can learn is something about the developer. Now, Introversion Software is very interesting in that I think they were first classified as sort of an indie dev, right? They were sort of classified as people who, at least in my mind and in the minds of the people who I was talking to, these guys were indie developers because indies were a big thing at the time. You were seeing this game being played alongside like of Meat Boy and The Binding of Isaac. But in truth, I think those communities, at least on YouTube, happen to be very indie focused, but more happen to be interesting games focused. And Prison Architect, when it was released, was an interesting game. Obviously, city builder games or city building games exist in terms of Sim City, you know. Pharaoh, there's Civilization, City Skyline, that's one that I played and it's quite good in my opinion. There's actually tons and tons of these. I'm sure there's a bunch of Flash games with this concept of just make a city and watch it work, but Prison Architect took that style and put an interesting spin on it. They put it in a prison. And we can see that this was in development for quite a while. Prison Architect Alpha started in 2012 and it's been in development for 3 years. 3 years ago, this was on YouTube. For those of you who don't know, when Prison Architect first released in alpha, a bunch of YouTubers started covering it. It was all over, not Twitch, because Twitch wasn't as big a deal back then, but it was over a lot of the big YouTuber channels, right? And you would see, a lot of people pick it up. And that's how I found out about it, sure. I would have bought it 3 years ago if it wasn't for, a $20 price point, right? Keep in mind, this was alpha. This is basically early access. This is something that people at the time were warning against. Don't buy alpha games, don't buy unfinished games, because you never know if they actually get finished. Luckily, this one ended up being finished. Now, the reason I mentioned the indie part, look at how long these guys have been making games. These guys already have 4 games under their belts. They don't seem all that indie. Generally, when I think of indie, I think of people with very little experience. Turns out that's not necessarily always the case. Let's say another popular game, Bastion, right? Who made Bastion? Obviously, video game, shoot. Supergiant Games. What are Supergiant Games doing right now? There are small and big ambitions. They made Transistor, they made Bastion, but there's other stuff they did. Before Supergiant, they were doing other things. Was it Supergiant or thing? No, you know who I was thinking about? Was it Behemoth, I think? I should have pulled up these websites as well. I wasn't intending to pull on these. Yeah, so Behemoth made Castle Crashers on it, obviously. And lately they made their new game Pit People. But if we actually check on their store, they've got a couple of other games going on. So they have Castle Crashers, they have these 2, and then they have this thing, Alien Homeland HD for the Xbox Live. And actually, this team of developers, before they were on Xbox, not even a team, but they were different people. The individual author stories are all kind of interesting to follow, and so it turns out even indies tend to have a lot of game experience, which in a sense breaks the sanctity of indies for me. For me, like, an indie developer is someone who just came up with an idea and went with it, right? That's what Prison Architect feels like. Prison Architect doesn't feel like, at least in my opinion, doesn't feel like a game that was made by a AAA company with like 40 plus people working on it. But it is. Maybe not 40 plus people, but certainly more than like 3 people were working on the game. I'm trying to see if there's like any information on your job. Ooh, hiring. Anyone interested in game design? Forum? Whoa, I do not like this layout like immediately, but hey, if you ever want to talk about Prison Architect, because I'm assuming that's their biggest game today, considering they spent 3 years in open alpha working on the thing. Blog. This could be pretty interesting. Blog. Hopefully they have like development stuff, bug fixes. That could be interesting. Another thing you can do to sort of learn, and this is sort of my preferred way, if I'm being honest, check the game's wiki, right? I actually really like looking at the wiki because it shows not what the developers value, but what the community values, like what the community thinks is really important. So we go to wiki content, rooms, office, kitchen, cell. Obviously, this is something the player interacts with quite heavily, but from a design sense, I wonder how important these are, right? The rooms themselves, in my opinion, aren't what's important to making the game work, and so I feel like the designers wouldn't really care about rooms. In fact, I would expect rooms to be like at the bottom of this list if it was made by designers, but it's not. It's made by players, and that's kind of cool thinking about it. Then obviously you have the workman, the cook. In fact, let's do a little something. Take a look at the workman, right? Look at the sprite. I think I did this in an episode as well, but look at the sprites, right? The sprites are actually like super tiny. Like, I wonder if I can see full-sized image. Yeah, so it's 256 by 256, right? That in my mind is kind of cool because, for one thing, you can see they're just using one sprite sheet for all the... actually, I don't know if this is the actual sprite sheet they use in game, but they can... Something you might know if you're a coder, you can assign individual pixels to a variable, at least in the programs that I use. I also like how they have varying shades of workmen. I wonder if these are all of the workmen. Like various ethnic groups is what I'm saying. There's only 1 female and 3 male officers, though it is a male prison, isn't it? It's kind of funny for a female officer to even be there to an extent. External teacher soldier. Oh, so this is kind of cool. Just sort of looking through. I'm taking a brief second to like see what the community says, because I didn't play this game too long ago. I still have it pretty fresh in my mind, like the descriptions given by the game, right? Toughness 5 HP. That might be important if you play differently to me. It's kind of interesting as well, the different playstyles when it comes to this game. Like, the Wikipedia points out toughness. That's not something I would have ever even thought about, if I'm honest. If I was playing the game on my own, I enjoy city building. I don't really care for the rioting aspect of Prison Architect, but it is, I know people enjoy that aspect, and so, hey, 5 toughness, and they have the new escape mode, right? So, that's all cool. You can also see, comments. So right now I'm anonymous. You can, like, scroll down, you get an office of people giving advice. Sometimes there's, like, really interesting bits about, like, people having a discussion about... Is it an electric chair? What's it called? Oh god. Did it freeze on me? Hello? Oh, here we go. Electric chair. Sometimes, I remember one of these comments, I don't think it was on the electric chair, but one of these comments were talking about how they would like to see, what was it? Like a different type of door that was like prisoners only. And I thought that was like an interesting concept. I don't remember where I saw it. So yeah, you can get some hints. I actually didn't know that Danger Meter in topless corner it starts rioting. That's crazy. You can't put anyone in it. Well, this is September 1st. Right now I'm recording this, as you can see, the 21st of October. Like real ad sparks. So no one is really questioning the electric chair like I was expecting, but other games have. To quote Bastion earlier, let's check out the Bastion wiki. Plot. I think it would be plot. Ending, that works too. So close your eyes if you don't want spoilers. But Bastion's ending posed a very interesting question onto the player. Spoiler alert. Bastion asked the player whether or not they valued the moment that's here and now, or whether they valued the past. What value do you place on the actions of the people before you? What value do you place on history? And how would you compare that to what's happening now? Do you fear the unknown, or are you willing to take risks for what might be a better future and you might not know the full outcome? I said I was spoiling it. I'm kind of trying to avoid spoiling it. But the Wikipedia's article's out there for yourself. If you haven't played Bastion, go play it. That game is awesome, and it's like 6 hours. It's great. But yeah, this is interesting. So it's saying in Chinese, basically meaning don't miss/dwell on the past and don't be afraid of the future. I've been hearing it so many years, but I think only now I really understand what this means. That's pretty cool, because I feel like I understood a similar thing to this person, Anon J, when I played Bastion, and so I'm able to sort of compare my experience to theirs, and I get a cool Chinese saying out of it. It's interesting how culture also affects the way we interpret games. Games are very strange in that they can become very personal very quickly. I feel like in a way that movies don't, which is weird because ultimately, when it comes to the storytelling, they both have the same tools for the most part. One just happens to have a player, actively involved on one side. I don't think that you wouldn't think that would affect the storytelling that much, but it means more than you would think, especially when you're making decisions and choices and stuff. Yeah, just sort of stuff to think about. Of course, there is one way of learning about the game design that I've not mentioned. Watching other people play it. Oh god, I just X'd that out. No! Okay. So you can type in Prison Architect. Let's play. And you'll see like all types of people who play Prison Architect. Most notably, what videos are popular is always kind of fun, because YouTube tends to value the views much higher than it values the hours. Now, this is apparently a very popular YouTuber. 150k, that's pretty good. When I googled this earlier, Northern Lion, you probably saw, took up most of the top charts. And so, yeah, now Northern Lion played the game before, so we might not get the experience we want to if we're trying to study this from like a game design perspective. Hey, let's play Binding of Isaac Prison Architect tutorial time. Hey, blind run. So now we can see this person try and understand the game from a year ago, mind you. So there's probably some things that changed between then and the release date, like a month back, right? But I always find it interesting to see this stuff. I find it interesting to see blind Let's Plays, but I never find it nearly as interesting as panel. I don't know if there's actually any panels on Prison Architect. No, unfortunately not. Although panel seems to be misinterpreted in some way to being related to the prison. So, dev talk, maybe. Dev stream with Warner stops by to show us our own correctional facilities. Devs reveal secret features. So not as much with Introversion Software. I wonder if this is the actual official channel or someone's trolling. It's got a good amount of subscribers. But a lot of other devs will, what's the term? They will be involved with the community very actively on how they make their game. The one that comes to mind when I say this is Guns of Icarus. League of Legends does this where they try to talk to their community, but League is like much worse at it. Hearthstone does it, in my opinion, quite well. Ben Brode is like sort of a father figure to the entire Hearthstone community, so that's always nice. Yes. So is this like the developer stream? That's kind of cool. But yeah, if you go on the Guns of Icarus website, Guns of Icarus is like a multiplayer shooter teamwork sort of game. It's really weird to explain it, but think steampunk airship battles. That is Guns of Icarus. It's very cool. It's like $15, I think. These guys do like, is it like a podcast? I forget what they do, but they frequently make articles. I guess Humble Bundle came up. They're constantly updating the game because it's a prototype. They have Twitter over here. I think that was Tumblr. Is that Tumblr? No, that's Twitter. So there's all sorts of ways that these guys are interacting with their community, and I just think it's kind of cool to see what the devs think, because I always feel like the devs are generally going to have better things to talk about. You might notice this on my channel, if you guys remember, that I have a playlist on the very front of my channel. The very first playlist you encounter is called Ideas to Know. And the reason I bring this up is because Ideas to Know has all sorts of things. A lot of times I feature videos from this place, GDC, and GDC happens to have a ton of designers talking about their game. You like DayZ? DayZ Designers talks about dealing with cheaters, and granted, you might feel cheated yourself by these designers because they sort of abandoned their game, but whatever. There was like a Hearthstone one about UI design. There was Cities Skylines, how they made it, an hour long. That probably I don't want to watch right now, but I can see that being really interesting. Sandbox lessons from Kerbal Space Program, Shattered Planets, a game I've never heard of, but it looks interesting. I'm interested in procedural generation, you know. Sure, why not? Why not look at this stuff? And there's other game design concepts too. If I'm just interested in procedural generation games, I might end up. Hey, Extra Credits is like a bunch of designers talking about. They're very entertaining. They're the guys you saw. Extra History is sort of their history show. That's also in the playlist. They just talk about games from a developer's perspective, presented to, shall we say, the common audience. They try to dumb down a lot of things. But ultimately, I think it works to their benefit because the videos are very entertaining and they have very strong central points, so definitely check them out. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to say today. Thank y'all for watching the series. Leave feedback if you have any idea what games I want to do next. Keep in mind that I'm not actually going to be here. I say that. I'm going to be at home, obviously, but I'm going to be taking tests and stuff, and so I'm not going to be putting up videos next week, so yeah. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the series. Hope you guys stick with the channel. Feel free to let me know if you find anything really interesting about Prison Architect that stuck out to you. I didn't say quite as much as I wanted to say, but ultimately it's fine. You know, you don't have to learn every single thing about every single game you play, but I find it's rewarding, would be the term I'd use. It's rewarding to learn about the intricacies of the game. It's rewarding to look at the kitchen, for example. and like just take a look at the chefs and the process they have to go to. Something that I wouldn't really pay attention to. What about shop, right? All this sort of stuff is very easy to find out. You just have to go outside of the game, and you can actually learn a lot outside of the game about the game, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I'll stop rambling. Thank you all for watching. My name is Nujum. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye! Alright. So, I'm Mead, I guess. Can I just walk? Hey!